Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me online? Just checking.
Perfectly.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Shri Govindaya Namo Namaha. Reading from Srimad Bhagwatam, first canto, chapter 13, text number 59. Vidurastu tad ascharyam nishamya kurunandana harshashoka yutastasman gantatirtha nishevakaha vidurastu tad ascharyam nishamya kurunandana harshashoka yutasmad gantatirtha nishevakaha. Vidurastu tadascharya nishamya kurunandana harshashoka yutastasman gantatirtha nishevakaha. Vidurastu tadascharya Nishamya Kurunandana Harshashoka Yutastasma Gantatirtha Nishevakaha. On Zoom,
Vidurastutad ashcharyam nisham yakurunandana harsha shoka yutas tasmat ganta tirtha nishevaka.
Vidurastu tadashtrayam nishamya kurunandana harsha shoka yutastasmad ganta tirta nishevakaha.
Vidurastu tat ashcharam Shamya Kuru Nandana Harsha Soka Yutash Tashmad Ganta Tirtha Nishevakaha.
anyone else? Word to word translation. Vidura, Vidura also. To, but. Tat, that incident. Ashcharyam, wonderful. Nishamya, seeing. Kuru Nandana, O son of Kuru dynasty. Harsha, delight. Shoka, grief. Yutaha, affected by. Tasmat, from that place. Ganta, will go away. Tirtha, place of pilgrimage. Nishevakaha, for being enlivened. Translation. Vidura, being affected with delight and grief, will then leave that place of sacred pilgrimage. Would you like to repeat? Vidura, being affected with delight and grief, will then leave that place of sacred pilgrimage. Thank you. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vidura was astonished to see the marvelous departure of his brother Dhritarashtra as a liberated yogi, for in his past life he was much attached to materialism. Of course, it was only due to Vidura that his brother attained the desirable goal of life. Vidura was therefore glad to learn about it, but he was sorry that he could not make his brother turn into a pure devotee. This was not done by Vidura because of Dhritarashtra's being inimical to the Pandavas, who were all devotees of the Lord. An offense at the feet of a Vaishnava is more dangerous than an offense at the lotus feet of the Lord. Vidura was certainly very liberal to bestow mercy upon his brother Dhritarashtra, whose past life was very materialistic. But ultimately, the result of such mercy certainly depend on the will of the Supreme Lord in the present life. Therefore, Dhritarashtra attained liberation only, and after many such liberated state of life, one can attain to the stage of devotional service. Vidura was certainly very mortified by the death of his brother and sister-in-law, and the only remedy to mitigate such lamentation was to go out to pilgrimage. Thus, Maharaj Yudhishthir had no chance to call back Vidura, his surviving uncle. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadatvi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिते नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरो दैवतारिणं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरं परमानन्दं Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from text numbers 59. Now Vidura, being affected with delight and grief, will then leave that place of sacred pilgrimage. So this verse is here, Narad Muni is stating this because if you see 2 verses back, King Yudhishthir, because he's hearing from Narad Muni that Dhritarashtra will most probably on 5th day from today will quit his body and his body will turn into ashes. So it's quite obvious, like Narad Muni was anticipating that Yudhishthir Maharaj will then ask, or like before he's making it everything clear here, that he's going to leave his body on 5th day. So again, the next question in the mind of Yudhishthir Maharaj is like, for his final rites, I should be there. I should go to that place. So then in the next sentence, Narad Muni clarifies, no, and his body will turn into ashes. Like basically, he will burn his body himself. So there is no need of doing the final rites or like cremations there. So the next thought of Yudhishthir Maharaj was there, okay, Dhritarashtra is gone. Maybe I'll go and take care of Gandhari, his aunt. So in the next verse, Narad Muni again stating that while outside observing her husband, who will burn the fire of mystic power along with his thatched cottage, his chaste wife will enter the fire with the rapt attention. So he's again clarifying that again you don't have to go, you don't have to worry about them, but you have to go and take care of. Uh, Basically, like she will also not be there. You don't have to worry about that. Hare Krishna. Is there? Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. No problem. Yeah. So in this verse, so after that, Yudhishthir Maharaj is thinking, okay, that now maybe Uncle Vidura is there, so maybe for him I'll go. So even to answer that, Narad Muni is here stating that Vidura being affected with delight and grief, when will then leave that place of sacred pilgrimage. So he will also not be there in that particular place, and he will also go on pilgrimage. So this particular verse, and I think there is one more verse after this, and this is the final conclusion of this particular chapter. And it is quite interesting that Srila Prabhupada, or like in Srimad Bhagwatam, this chapter is, the title of this chapter is Dhritarashtra quits home. It's not just like Dhritarashtra only quitting home, but is also leaving the body. It could have been anything else. But this is very apt for this particular chapter to be named as Dhritarashtra quitting his home. Because home is, it's not just the house or the building. Like, it can be of your attachment, it can be of your own body, where you find your comfort, or like basically Dhritarashtra is living all that comfort, living that all the belongingness that he had. And he's also not only physically renouncing everything, but also mentally, and in a way that spiritually also is going to perfect his body, or perfect his life. But at the same time, here as we see, Vidura was being affected with delight and grief. Why delight and grief? Because he was delighted because Dhritarashtra got something. He got liberation. Of course, because considering his past life, whatever acts he has done, considering that, like, he was not so deserving candidate for being even liberated. But because of the good advice of Vidura and the association of his own brother, who was a devotee of Lord, because of that, he got some liberation. Like he got some pious credits in his life, and he could able to focus his mind and towards Paramatma, and could renounce towards the end of his life. So that's why he got liberation, and that is very good. Like that feeling, Vidura was feeling delighted because of that. And of course, there was grief for two reasons. Of course, because he was his brother, he left his body. That is the grief. Another grief, which we understand from the purport and from Prabhupada here, because he was feeling that he could not turn his brother into a pure devotee, and he could only achieve the liberation, but he didn't actually ultimately got uh, the abode of the Lord. He could not become pure devotee and could practice devotional service. But in a way, he was also satisfied and delighted that at least he got some liberation. So this is what Prabhupada is emphasizing here when he's saying that Vidura being affected with delight and grief. And also a very important point which Srila Prabhupada was mentioning here, like why Dhritarashtra could not achieve that position, or why he could not become a pure devotee. Reason which Prabhupada here states is, an offense at the feet of Vaishnava is much more dangerous than an offense at the lotus feet of the Lord. And because Dhritarashtra has committed offenses towards the Pandavas, who were great devotees of the Lord, so because of that reason, Dhritarashtra could not achieve that particular highest state of pure devotional service. And that's why, again, maybe Prabhupada is later on, again, he is mentioning that even if after like many liberated states, after many such liberated states of life, one can attain the stage of devotional service. So even if we are attaining the liberation for many births, still achieving devotional service is very rare. And it can be only possible if we get a good association of pure devotees, just like Vidura here. He could give some association to his brother, but because at the same time he also committed Vaishnava Aparadh, or basically he was inimical to the Pandavas, who were great devotees of the Lord. So because of that reason, Srila Prabhupada is stating here in the purport that Vidura could not achieve that ultimate perfection in his life and could achieve devotional service. So as we see this very important point here, even if we see in the lives of very various devotees, today being Basant Panchami, it is like a very important day. There are very auspicious day, we can say. We have so many great Vaishnavas appearance day, Vishnu Priya Devi's appearance day, the wife of Lord Chaitanya, and appearance day of Raghunath Das Goswami, a great devotee in our line, a great acharya in our line. Then Raghunandan Das Thakur, his appearance day is also there. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, the the great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, who is like none other than Vrishabhanu Maharaj in Krishna Leela. His appearance day is also today. Today is disappearance day of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, again a great acharya in our line. And today is also Saraswati Puja. We always recite this particular verse before reciting Srimad Bhagwatam. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chevam narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamotiret. We always pray to Mother Saraswati like you recite, and because of your mercy, maybe we can speak something on the topics of Srimad Bhagwatam. So it is said like Mother Saraswati, she's when we invoke her auspiciousness to our tongue to glorify the Lord, she becomes very happy. She becomes very eager to glorify the Lord and to hear the glorification of the Lord and his devotees. She becomes very eager to hear that. And it is said like she becomes very dejected or disappointed if we don't do that. So when we invoke Saraswati, it is not for the mundane knowledge or something that we should be aiming at, but it's basically for invoking or to discuss the glories of the Lord and his devotees. So when we do that, she becomes very happy. So in that way also, when we pray, this is the day where a lot of devotees, they also pray to Mother Saraswati for the knowledge. And it's not just the knowledge, but she also empowers the devotee to give the realization. When the knowledge is coupled with the practical application of those knowledge, that becomes the realization. And that realization, that spiritual realization, is also very important in a devotee's life. And today being Basant Panchami, so it's like it also marks in Vrindavan the day where the Basant Ras starts, or like also it marks the day when the Holi or the festival of colors, it starts in Vrindavan. So it lasts for almost like 40 to 50 days in Vrindavan, but normally in other places it's just for the next day of Gaur Purnima. On that day, mostly the Holi is celebrated across the India, but in Vrindavan it starts from this particular day, from today. So this Basant Ras, there are like two types of rases. One is Sharadiya Ras, that happens in the in the month of Sharad, or like towards the first day of Kartik. That is the Sharadiya Ras, where Krishna performs the Rasa Leela along with the gopis. And this Basant Ras, this particular Ras takes place near the Govardhan Hill area. So that is described by Jayadev Goswami, and he describes various details about this particular rasa. So on this day, like it is said, like the whole day. Normally, if you have to do anything, any auspicious thing, or if you are starting anything, you have to see auspicious time, or you have to see the muhurtas and everything. But there are 3.5 muhurts across the year where it's like 24/7. It's a good auspicious time. It's a muhurat or 24/7. Sorry, 24 hours. So one of those days is today, the Basant Panchami day. So if anybody wants to start anything good, or want to begin, or like maybe if they are purchasing anything, so it's like you don't have to see any murat for this day, because it's 24 hours. It's auspicious today. So on the Basant Panchami, there are other days as well, like Akshaya Tritiya and also Dashara. These are like 3.5 murats across the year, where 24 hours are auspicious and you can begin anything on this auspicious day. And like I said, the devotees, the point which Prabhupada is making here on this purport, that Krishna takes the offense of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas more seriously than the offense at his own lotus feet. So as we see, there are many instances, and all the Vaishnava acharyas which I have mentioned today, if we see somehow directly or indirectly, we commit these offenses because we judge the devotees by their externals, or we commit this kind of aparas because we are own thinking ourselves much more better than themselves. And then only in that situation or that circumstances, it is high chances that you are going to make an offense towards that devotee. So if we see, very famous pastime of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. If you see Pundarik Vidyanidhi, externally he would look like a very materialistic person. He would dress himself very nicely in a silken clothes, like he would comb his hair with scented oils, and he would put perfumes, and now and then he would like see himself in the mirror, and that was the vision. Like one day Mukunda along with Gadadhar Pandit, they were talking, and Mukunda said to Gadadhar Pandit that I will take you to one great devotee of the Lord, and you will be very happy to see him. So Mukunda, he was going to introduce Gadadhar Pandit to Pundarik Vidyanidhi in Navdvip. And Gadadhar Pandit was very eager because he was very renounced person. He was very devoted person from the beginning of his life, and he was very eager to meet a devotee. And when Mukunda actually took Gadadhar Pandit in the hall of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and he saw this particular devotee, he was judging. Basically, in his mind, he was thinking, what kind of a devotee he is. He's wearing such opulent clothes, is always seeing himself in the mirror, and he is also eating like betel nut leaves, and he's chewing that. And he was mentally he was thinking, is this really the person, or is someone else, which Mukunda was mentioning. So Mukunda could understand the mind of Gadadhar Pandit, and just to remove his doubt, what he started doing is chanted a verse from Srimad Bhagwatam, Aho Bakiyam Sanakalakutam, which is like mentioning about Krishna. He's so merciful, Lord, that even Baki, the Putana, she wanted to kill Krishna, but ultimately, because she did the act of feeding Krishna, Krishna gave him the liberation and gave the position of one of the mothers in Golaka Vrindavan. So, how merciful is that, Lord? So, as soon as Pundarik Vidyanidhi heard that particular verse, he went into ecstasy. He was in the state of total trance. He was ripping his clothes, like whichever silken clothes that he was wearing. All his oiled hair were also like they were they got disturbed, and he was dancing and chanting, and he was eagerly shouting, "How merciful is this Lord? How merciful is that?" And all the silken cloths and other things which were around, all the servants, and the mirror was upside down. And for next 10 hours, he was in that trance situation. And then when Gadadhar Pandit saw externally, of course, he was looking as a materialistic person. But when Gadadhar Pandit saw the consciousness of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he became so much affected. And he thought, I committed a great offense to this particular devotee. What should I be doing? And to maybe to compensate that, he also took initiation from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And not only in the Gaur Leela, it was that relation, but also in Krishna Leela, because Gadadhar Pandit is the form of Srimati Radharani, and Pundarik Vidyanidhi is Vrishabhanu, who is his father. So in that way, like a spiritual father, he took initiation from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So how we see that we cannot just by external appearance, we cannot make out is somebody who is a pure devotee or not a devotee. But when we see their consciousness, their feeling for Krishna, their love for Krishna, then we can understand, okay, this is some person. So sometimes it takes one to understand the other one, but sometimes also just by seeing external, we cannot judge any devotees. And we have all kinds of devotees for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya. If you see, there's one devotee, like of course, like Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who is externally very appealant, and also at the same time we have devotees like Raghunath Das Goswami, who was very renounced person, and today's his appearance is also there. He was very renounced, and he was so renounced. Of course, he was also the personal associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was personally serving Mahaprabhu when he was in Puri. He was assisting Sarup Damodar, who was the personal assistant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And all the Leela that we read in Chaitanya Charitamrit, it is by the mercy of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. Because after the disappearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarup Damodar was actually maintaining the diary, and that was given to Raghunath Das Goswami. And Raghunath Das Goswami, he wanted to actually, after the disappearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted to commit suicide. And for that reason, he actually came to Vrindavan, and he was thinking that I will jump from Govardhan Hill and give up my life. But Rup and Sanatan, because they were there in Vrindavan, they said like only you are the person who saw all the last Madhya Leela and Anta Leela of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you are the right person to actually guide the devotees in Vrindavan, and you should narrate these pastimes. And when he was residing in Radhakund, he would every day he would for 2 to 3 hours he would recite those pastimes of Madhya Leela and Anta Leela of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu based on the notes of Sarup Damodar Goswami. And of course, there various devotees were there, and one of the devotees who was attending those classes was Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and he made note of all those pastimes, and then later on elaborated as Chaitanya Charitamrita, that we relish, and that's how we got understand all the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So even in the case of Raghunath Das Goswami, who is following so strictly all the rules and regulations, he would chant like 1 lakh, 2 lakh names. He would offer thousands of obeisances daily. And it is said that Raghunath Das Goswami's rules and regulations were like the line on the stones. Like nobody can even try to erase that because he was so strict in his sadhana. Even sometimes there are many pastimes like Radharani herself, like she would come and serve Raghunath Das Goswami by putting her veil on the Raghunath Das Goswami's head because he was sitting on a sun, very bright sun, and chanting, so absorbed in chanting holy name. Sometimes Krishna would come with a stick because where Raghunath Das Goswami was chanting, there was a tiger there, and Krishna was standing there with the stick. And in both the occasions, Sanatana Goswami saw Raghunath Das Goswami in that situation, and he saw Radharani and Krishna in 2 different occasions. And Sanatan Goswami then later on, because he was the eldest one, he could go and even guide the other Goswamis, and he guided him that like you should make a bhajan kutir for yourself, because we are chanting to please Radha and Krishna, and we should be serving them. It's not the other way that they should be coming to serve us while we are performing our sadhanas. So you should make a bhajan kutir for yourselves, and that's how Raghunath Das Goswami currently. If you go to Radha Kund, you see a bhajan kutir of Raghunath Das Goswami. So today is also his appearance day. And also Raghunandan Thakur, again a great devotee. Mukunda, the other devotee, I would say, who was Mukunda, his father was there. He was, by profession, he was a physician. He was a doctor for the king. And one time he was called to the court of the king uh, to to give some medicines to the king. And he saw there was a servant who was fanning the king. Externally, he was a doctor. Of course, he was going to treat the king. But as soon as he saw the peacock feather, the fan, he remembered Krishna, and because of that, like he suddenly felt he became unconscious. He was again in the state of ecstasy. So everybody gathered there and tried to revive him. And later on, he said, "Yeah, he didn't disclose everyone that like it is because of ecstasy that he fell, but he said like I have a disease called something related to epilepsy, and because of that I just fell. You don't worry about it." So externally he is a physician who is performing his duty as a doctor. He's treating the king, but you see, internally he's a great devotee, but he's not like making a show out of it or telling everybody like he's the great devotee of the Lord. And because of seeing the peacock feather, he fell down and from near the throne where he was standing. So, but everybody could understand because they were seeing Mukunda, his lifestyle, how he was living, and how he's worshipping his deity of Gopinath. So his son was Raghunandan Thakur, and because he had some duty to perform, then he instructed Raghunandan Thakur to do the offering, where he was just a 5-year-old child. And Raghunandan Thakur, uh, he didn't know how to do the offering, but his father just said like, you just lovingly request Gopinath to eat this particular offering. And Raghunandan Thakur, because of his innocence, he was there, like he put the plate and he was lovingly offering prayers to Gopinath to please accept the offering. And because he was just a child, he was just waiting and waiting to Gopinath to actually eat that particular offering. And his mother was also waiting outside, thinking that why is not coming. And he started crying because he was thinking Krishna is not accepting his offering. Because he was thinking, I'm so fallen that Krishna is not eating my offering. I'm not qualified to offer something to Krishna. And then he started crying. And because of his loving cry and prayers, Gopinath actually said, like, whatever you have offered, I've actually accepted it. I accepted through you through the glance. Then Raghunandan Thakur said, like, I'm just a child. I don't understand this philosophy of glances. I don't understand how do you accept by glances. I want to see this. So Gopinath actually ate all the offerings, and his mother was actually waiting outside, and she was thinking maybe what this child is doing. And after some time, Raghunandan came with the empty plate, and she was thinking maybe he has eaten it or something. What happened exactly? But at the same time, she has this faith like he's a great devotee. I mean, he actually at least we taught him like how to offer and everything. It's not like he must have eaten it. But later on, when Mukunda came, she shared this past or like shared this instance. And when Mukunda asked for the prasadam, she said like there is no prasadam because Gopinath. He's saying that Gopinath ate it everything. So Mukunda was he had some faith, but at the same time he just wanted to confirm it. So she asked like he asked him like whatever else is there, there is some sweets that we can offer to Gopinath. And then he again asked Raghunandan to go and offer it to Gopinath. And Mukunda was watching from the window, little window, what his son is doing. And then again Raghunandan was crying and then requesting Gopinath to eat. And there was some laddu, and then Gopinath said, like, I just ate all the offering. They said, again, my mother asked me to offer this. And then Gopinath again personally came and ate the laddu. And as soon as the laddu, he was eating the laddu, Mukunda became very ecstatic and he kind of like reacted to that, saying Jai or like how wonderful that Gopinath is eating. So as soon as he saw Mukunda, Gopinath again became conscious and he became the deity. And Raghunandan, it is said that, that at Sri Khanda, where his place is there, that half laddu is, I mean, they have maintained that half laddu as well, like they kind of preserved it. And that laddu is still transcendental because it was touched by Gopinath, so it has not spoiled yet. That's what they're saying. But this is all the pastimes of the Lord. And many times Mahaprabhu, eventually Raghunandan, of course, he was a great devotee, he would jokingly ask Mukunda, like, are you the father of Raghunandan or Raghunandan is your father? So Mukunda would say, Raghunandan is my father. But like biologically, he's the father of Raghunandan, but he would say, Raghunandan is my father. And Mahaprabhu would become very happy because he would say that because he inspires me in performing devotional service. So anyone who inspires you in devotional service is your guru as good as your father. So that's why Raghunandan is my inspiration and he inspires me in performing devotional service. So he's my father. So in this way also we see it's not just the external position, whether he was his son as a very young child, but he would consider him as an inspiration for devotional service, and he would consider him as a great devotee. So even on those aspects, these are the external consideration. Seeing somebody very opulent or not so renounced, or somebody who is young or old, based on this discrimination, we should not like judge any devotee and make any offenses. And to of course, Mahaprabhu, like Vishnu Priya Devi is also her appearances day. It's a Basant Panchami day. And Prabhupada, in one of his lecture, he was saying that we should be very grateful to Vishnu Priya Devi and we should show our gratitude to Vishnu Priya Devi because of her permission, Mahaprabhu could perform all other leelas and he could spread the Sankirtan movement because she made that sacrifice of leaving Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into the renounced sort of life. And basically, she got married when she was just 16 years of old. 16 years, and she lived till 96 years, it said, like, so almost 80 years of her sacrifice. And maybe she in a separation she was living. She was the most intimate confidential associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but physically she could not even go and see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada was making a point like we should be very grateful. And then during the later on that conversation, I think Tamal Krishna Maharaj makes a point. We are also grateful to your wife because when you asked whether you want to select tea or me, and she selected tea. So Srila Prabhupada, we are also very grateful to uh, your wife because she selected, yeah, rather, yeah, yeah, because she selected the tea and not you, and because of that we all got you, and we could get this ISKCON society. So we are also very grateful to her. So in that way, there are like various devotees who perform. Externally, they are situated in various pastimes or various bodies, but internally, their consciousness is all one. They were all focused in serving pure devotional service to the Lord, to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and to Sri Radha Krishna. And their state of consciousness is what we aspire for, or like to we take as an inspiration for ourselves. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there in this planet, of course he was there personally. And as yesterday Jai Govinda Prabhu was mentioning about, as the Acharya departs, it also takes some potency with that. So as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed from this world, there were also his associate who started departing from this world, and those who were there, they were also living in such a separation. They were also doing their bhajan in a secluded place, that there were practically not so much preaching that was happening in the Puri or the Bengal area. But of course, the six Goswamis were there. They were preaching, they were writing the books, they were excavating the temples, and they established the Vrindavan almost like 500 years back. And they excavated the deities of Govinda, Gopinath, and they established various temples. There were a lot of devotees. They were preaching, they were writing the books, they were establishing the lost holy places, and it was all going very well. And after that, the next generation, Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, Shamananda Pandit, they took all the books of Goswamis, and then they went to Bengal and they preached there. Shamananda Prabhu went to Orissa and he started preaching there. And they were, it was all at the peak of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, where everybody was following Gaudiya Vaishnavism. There was a disciple of Srinivasacharya, King Viramvir, whose whole state was a Gaudiya Vaishnava state. Everybody was following the regulative principles and chanting the 16 rounds, or like whatever rounds they were. They have a prescribed round where all the citizens were chanting, and there was like complete inundation of Gaudiya Vaishnavism during that period of time. But as soon as the last followers of Jiva Goswami went, after that, a lot of devotees, they were they didn't have a proper acharya. Even though there were some devotees like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Mukunda Goswami, they were at Radha Kund. They were performing their bhajans, but there was no systematic or organization or like a structured religion which was preaching. So soon after that, there were attacks from Aurangzeb, and the temples were destroyed, which was initially established by all the Goswamis. And there were no deities. Govinda went to Sri Radha Govinda, they went to Jaipur. Damodar also went to Jaipur. Radha Vinod also went to Jaipur. Radha Madan Mohan went to Jaipur and then eventually at Karoli. So all the prominent deities which were there, all the temples which were there in Vrindavan, it was all lost. There were no like devotees because of the attacks. Most of the devotees, they were scattered, or even if they are performing, they would perform in a very secluded place, and they would not go anywhere to preach because that was not safe for them. And it was said that like because of that, because there were no prominent devotees who were preaching, almost this is after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the Goswamis. It's almost like after 100 years, somewhere in 17 like 16th century. So the situation of Vrindavan was such that there were no temples, there were no deities, there were no devotees, even if they were there, but there were different philosophies which were popping up because there was no systematic preaching or somebody who was not there to train them. So the situation was very, very, very dire situation at that point of time in Vrindavan. And there were different thoughts. Like there was a Rupa Kaviraj. There is a scholar who's coming in the line of Mukunda Goswami. Mukunda Goswami, of course, he was a very intimate and great friend of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And Rupa Kaviraj, he was a very, very scholarly person. He would give lectures, and everybody would be there to listen to his classes, and he was very prominent person. And one day he was giving class near the banks of Radhakund, and there was a great Vaishnavi whose name was Krishna Priya Thakurani. She was the daughter of Ganga Narayan Chakravarti, and she was an elderly lady. She would be always chanting the holy names of the Lord. And that was her habit. Like even if she would do any seva or would be hearing from some class or something, out of habit she would always murmur the holy names. And this Rupa Kaviraj, because he was very puffed up because of his scholarship and he was very prominent person, very influential person, he was sitting in the class and he was giving the class. And then he saw this particular lady who's chanting, murmuring the holy names of the Lord, and he became very disturbed. And in the class, publicly, he shouted at that particular devotee, Krishna Priya Thakurari, and he said like, how can you do the two things at the same time? You are hearing the class and at the same time you're chanting. And she was being very humble devotee. She said like, it's not like I'm doing out of disrespect for you. This is something out of habit I'm doing. I'm not able to stop chanting holy names, and that's why I'm just doing. But if it is disturbing to you, I'll just go away. But at the same time, I want to hear you. I want to hear about Krishna. And then he became very enraged, and publicly he was shouting and defaming her. And later on, even though he was a person who was practicing Raganuga Bhakti or very elevated state of Bhakti, but because of this particular offenses, later on he became very, very offensive towards the Vaishnavas. He started preaching that there is no need of hearing, there is no need of chanting. You can just meditate on one place and think about the esoteric leelas of Radha and Krishna, and that is all what is needed. There is no need of any Vedi, there is no need of any rules and regulation. You should just sit in one place and meditate on your Swarup and everything. He was preaching all the Deviant philosophy at that point of time. And later on, of course, because he was very offensive to a Vaishnavi, considering again the point and the purport, he lost all his luster, and later on he was infected with leprosy. And because he was preaching all the Deviant philosophy, even his spiritual master, he asked him to go out of Vrindavan. So because nobody was hearing him in Vrindavan, he started preaching in Bengal. And again, before he could come, the news of that he has been like disowned by his own spiritual master, that came in Bengal. And even the devotees were not in Bengal, they were not entertaining him or like not hearing from him. So he went to Puri then, and there he started preaching. But because of his leprosy was increasing, eventually nobody was there to take care of him, and he left his body. And it is said like even in now in local Oria village, they said like if somebody uh, does Vaishnava Aparadh, the ghost of Rupa Kaviraj haunts that person. And if anybody is haunted by the ghost of Rupa Kaviraj, you could understand like you must have committed some Vaishnava Aparadh there. So that's like a popular story in the villages of Orissa. But the point is again, because this person, he was so scholarly and he was thinking, he was puffed up with the knowledge, but no practical humility. He committed offense towards a great Vaishnavi, Krishna Priya Thakurani, who was just chanting, who was she was just chanting, sitting there. But because of his scholarship, he was thinking he is better than her and he could guide her. Of course, if that would have been the right mood, if he wanted to actually guide her, he could have done that in person. But he publicly blasphemed her, chastised her, he kind of assassinated her character, pointing her that like she's living in Vrindavan alone, chanting, she's not a good character lady and everything. So that counted as the Vaishnava Aparadh, that too in Vrindavan. So because of that, he had to suffer. So that was the situation in Vrindavan after the departure of Mahaprabhu. There was Deviant philosophy, and because he was preaching so vigorously, everybody there, they were saying that the Hare Krishna mantra we cannot chant loudly. They were chanting some other concocted mantra, Nitai Gaur, Radhesham, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, and somewhere like they were taking the dress of a gopi and dancing and intimately mixing with the opposite sex, and that was all going on. And at that point of time, the savior of Gaudiya Vaishnava, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, came to Vrindavan Dham. And then, when he saw that Vrindavan Dham, when there was no deities, practically no temples, no devotees, he came there and established the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhant. He wrote his books, he wrote his commentaries on all the Vaishnava Goswamis literature, and he started preaching, he started traveling to all the places, and in Vrindavan, he re-established the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. And when our Srila Prabhupada, he was there in Vrindavan, he was thinking that Srila Saraswati Thakur has given him such an instruction, which is very difficult to follow. Will I be able to follow? Like he was just thinking himself, or like, will I be able to follow the instruction of my spiritual master? And at that point of time, Srila Prabhupada in Radha Damodar, he was reading the the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on Bhagavad Gita. And that point of time, he was reading the verse 2.41 from Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasatmika Buddhi Eke Hai Karo Nanda. And in that commentary, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that one should take the instruction of his spiritual master as one's life and soul. So that it means to be Vyavasatmika Buddhi, or one-pointed intelligence. And when Srila Prabhupada read that, he got this inspiration that it is possible by the mercy of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that he will be able to fulfill the desire of his spiritual master. And then he later on, of course, we are all sitting because of that, because Srila Prabhupada took that as his inspiration. So it is by the inspiration of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Srila Prabhupada actually took that instruction very, very seriously. And later on, of course, we can all see the results. And of course, there were also deviant philosophies which were also popping up in Jaipur at that point of time because of the other sects. They were objecting that we should not be worshipping Radharani with Govindji, and they removed actually Radharani from the altar. And that news also came to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that how to fix it. And at that point of time, he was very old and he could not go to Jaipur. So he instructed one of his, again, very illustrious disciple, Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan, to go and defend Vaishnava philosophy, where he actually went and he wrote Govinda Bhashya by the guidance of Sri Govindaji, and he wrote all and he provided the commentary on Vedanta Sutra on behalf of Gaudiya Vaishnava and re-established the position of Srimati Radharani, and again Radharani was reinstalled in Govinda Dev temple. And Srila Prabhupada also, he dedicates his Bhagavad Gita to Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan. So if we see, it is of course quite prominent that when there are no guides, or like there are no acharyas who are doing these services on behalf of all the Guru Parampara, it is very difficult for the common people to follow and to see, to understand, or to discriminate what is right or what is wrong. But when we see Srila Prabhupada, we see Srila Prabhupada is representing that whole parampara. It's not we just not see Srila Prabhupada as just one person who's just whatever he's saying, but whatever he's writing in his purport, it is coming from the whole parampara. Whatever he would refer to 5 different commentaries and then he would write his Bhaktivedanta purport. So whatever Prabhupada is giving in this purport is like the essence of all the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas who have struggled so much for us so that we should follow this path of devotional service, and we should ultimately, after many such liberated states of life, maybe in some life we would achieve this state of devotional service which Prabhupada is stating here. Yes. Thank you very much. If you have any questions and comments.